it's on. Okay. We'll have a moment of silent meditation, a pledge to the flag. Thank you. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. It is 10:01. We have our January 26th County Commission meeting. Sean Sikora and Tom Bloom are here. Jeff Arnett is unable to attend today. At this time, we will have consensus and approval from the county administrator.
Morning.
Morning.
We have 7 exonerations for $6,551.64. Minutes for January 19th, 2022. Vouchers, General County Fund, $3,589,093.98. 911, $11,701.92. Chestnut Ridge Park, $4,954.49. Camp Monthly, $3,520.08. Mason-Dixon Park, $5,804.30. Recreation Levy, $6,811.29. Assessor's Valuation, $67.38. Day Report Center, $51,788.45. Payroll, $947,757.16. Mon County ARPA, $3,461,000. Purchasing card vouchers, General County Fund, $15,597.55. 911, $903.52. Camp Monthly, $372.26. Assessor's Valuation, $995.45 for a voucher total of $8,099,467.83. We have position vacancies for boards and authorities listed on our website. Fiduciary orders for January 26, 2022, and a fourth quarter file status report for Fiduciary Commissioner George Armistead.
Move to approve consent agenda items as presented.
Second, properly moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It
We
passed.
also have one other item.
Okay.
The county clerk's office is requesting a date for the next administrative closure for estates.
Oh.
And we've discussed that, and it's March 30th, so we just need to set the order, or set the date for that.
So we will put that, do we need a motion on
Move
it?
to approve that date.
March 30th. Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It
Thanks.
passes. Great.
Thanks.
Again, we don't have no new fiduciary orders. I always ask that. Okay, introduction of the new employees' personnel changes. Yes, a sheriff, deputy. We're excited.
Morning,
Yeah.
Sheriff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right beside me. I have, first here, I have to my right, Kinsley Bogus, correct. She'll be starting for us as a part-time process transport, starting salary of $13.50 an hour. To her right, I have Logan Thompson, who comes from us from WVU, was there for 1 year as a WVU police officer. He'll now be a deputy sheriff starting February 1st at $3,659 per month. And that takes us down to only 7 openings now for deputy. So we're getting there slowly. It's just, we have another test scheduled March 26th then, and then get on our website and look at it. So we'd like to welcome them both.
Move to approve personnel as presented.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, welcome, and hopefully we'll get some more people to cut down your workload.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Okay. We now will have comments from the public. What I request is that you come up front and you can take off your mask if you want to speak. You give your name, your address, and I'd appreciate if you would keep it to 4 minutes. Be my guest.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Dwayne Nichols. I live at 330 Dreamcatcher Circle here in Morgantown. It's actually in Stewartstown.
Okay.
I'm here today to talk about Longview 1 and Longview 2. Longview 2 is formerly known as the Mountain State Clean Energy, but for brevity, I'll call it Longview 2. There is both an air permit and a pilot agreement for each of these. In my recommendation to you, the pilot agreement should be reopened for Longview 1. There are 5 reasons that I have for that. With regards to Longview 2, there is an air permit and a pilot agreement. The air permit was just released on January 5, and that can be appealed to the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection until February 4. I believe this a group should appeal that and make sure that there is consideration given to our county. Now, first off, I'm submitting both the email and hard copy an article from the Charleston Gazette called State Regulators, Utilities Cling to Coal. And this was published on January 3rd under the authorship of Mike Toney, and the last page gives the reference by a internet link. So I'm going to hand this in as I leave. I've already submitted it by way of email to this group. Okay, so the most important and urgent part is this pending air permit. It authorizes 5 million tons per year of carbon dioxide, and that is worthy of review. Already, our county has 5 million tons per year from Fort Martin and 4.9 million tons per year from Longview 1. So if this additional is added into the sacrifice zone up at Fort Martin, this will bring our county up just in that location to 15 million tons per year of carbon dioxide. That is worthy of review on multiple counts. I don't have time to give you all the reasons, but I was here when we saw the approval of Longview 1. I was here and asked questions in this building of the Longview Run promoters, and they promised that there would be mine-mouth coal provided, no coal trucks. They promised that there would be no water withdrawals from the river in order to cool the plant. They promised that it would be a zero discharge facility. On all 3 of those counts, that's been given up. So there's justification for this county to re-examine the agreement between the county and Longview 1. The article that I'm handing in has additional reasons for trying to understand the relationship among Longview 1, Mon Power, Longview 2, and the county, and the state too, for that matter. The biggest problem is pollution for the people that live here. It's called HAPs, hazardous air pollutants. There is no cure for asthma. There is a treatment for lung cancer, but it's surgery and it's not advised for our citizenry. But in addition to the hazardous air pollutants, there is the plumes that are obscuring our environment. With me today, Bill Riggernash and I live in a community where we experience these plumes. And we're going to be getting more plumes from Longview 2. I speak here today reflecting views of myself and my community, reflecting views of the Mon Valley Clean Air Coalition, reflecting views of Ed Koger, who lives in Fort Martin, and his children and grandchildren, of Lucille Jemison, a grandmother who lives in Fort Martin community, her children and grandchildren. If when you count her house and her children's homes, we're talking about 4 separate families right there in Fort Martin. So the current thing about the
If you
coal
could
trucks
try
over
and
there
come up with your
is
conclusion, please.
unreal.
Okay.
And I've talked about it before, but it's still happening. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank
Make sure
you
you
very
turn
much.
in your,
Thank you, Mr.
Document.
Nichols.
thank you. Give it to Renetta.
I emailed her one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did you get one from me?
Yes, I had it in correspondence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there someone else? Yes, feel free to just state your name, address, and you can take off your mask while you're speaking.
Hi, my name is Dr. Bill Rieger Nash. I'm a retired professor of public health at West Virginia University. I'm also a former delegate representing Wheeling, Iowa County in the West Virginia legislature. I'm here today to speak strongly in support of your efforts to increase our broadband capacity throughout Mon County. I appreciate the fact that we have these wonderful, talented people here, but I'd also like to kind of give a little bit of my own experience. First and foremost, I've had Frontier DSL, which in our area is largely between 1/2 and 1.5 megabits per second download. The upload speed sometimes is almost non-existent. I've cobbled together a hotspot with my cell phone. I spent about $1,000 buying a booster and installing that, and maybe I'm getting 3 to 4 megabits per second in our area. I purchased the Starlink satellite. We have that on the roof of the house, but because of the trees, it's a very interrupted service. I really am hard-pressed to have any kind of continuous Zoom exchange, for example, from our area. 2 years ago, I was looking to revise a textbook that I had written. I put a team of people together, and we were attempting to do this via Zoom, and it was literally impossible, and my team members became so frustrated that several of them quit. This was not a big thing for me, but as a proponent of public health, I wanted to put these materials together so other people could avail themselves, and that fell flat because of the poor internet service we have here. So I thank you for your commitment to provide this to our county, and I'm real pleased that we have these people here today who might well be able to help us out in the future. From the standpoint of education, from the standpoint of quality of life, from the standpoint of economic development, this is critical. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Public portion. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public portion. Okay. Perfect preview for what is next. Today we have a broadband update from Ice Miller Whiteboard Lit Communities. We saw the presentation last night, and before I even go forward, I can't say enough of what Sean Secor has done to lead this program and to move it forward. I think this is going to change Monongalia County. This is the new infrastructure that people have been waiting for. As you know, I get a little bit excited when things are really good, and this is an amazing program, and when you hear this, I can't wait for the public to see this. So I'll turn it to Lindsay Miller. Not related to any of the other Millers, but if you want to go and what you did last night for us, and I think the public's going to be able to see it, this is great. So I'll turn over to you and Sean, since Sean is the representative from our commission.
Perfect. Is it okay if I remember?
Oh, yes, please do, because no one will hear you.
Perfect. Well, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. And truly, that was a perfect lead off for what we are going
Yes.
to cover today. So we appreciate it. I am going to give a brief background on the project. I'm going to be quick about my comments because we do want to keep as much time as possible for questions. We are coming up essentially on the year marker of this project. So last February 3rd of 2021, the county issued a request for proposals to find a consulting firm to develop a comprehensive broadband strategic plan and feasibility study. I'm just going to call it the strategic plan or feasibility study moving forward because that's much more simple than this long title. But we submitted to that. We saw the RFP as a huge opportunity for the county. We partnered as Ice Miller Whiteboard with Lit Communities and DLZ Corporation. I'll talk about all of our organizations in a second. And we were thrilled to be selected by the county to perform this study. We were notified in mid-May. We started shortly thereafter. And then it is a 9-month project wrap-up. Scheduled to close on February 19th, and that's when the real fun begins. So we were tasked with a variety of deliverables. I'm going to share some of our results today. This is mainly for reference. I'm not going to go into every single slide because I do want to keep this brief. As was shared, I'm with Ice Miller Whiteboard, and thank you for already clarifying that I just have a common last name along with my colleague here, Chris Miller. You will see a third Miller on our project team here in just a second. We are based in Columbus, Ohio. We are a consulting arm of a law firm called Ice Miller LLP. So while Chris and I do practice as attorneys, we do a lot of consulting work, and broadband and telecommunications is what I work on all day, every day. And we principally work with different levels of government, urban, rural, suburban, etc., as they try to find their broadband solutions and overcome their local challenges. So here was our team on this project. We were tasked with project management, so we were the lead for this, and then we were supported by our partners, Lit Communities. We have Jessica Fowler with us here today, so if folks have questions for Lit, she will be able to answer those. Lit Communities for us was really our network partner. So there are some maps I'm going to go over here in a minute, and Lit was tasked with devising those, figuring out what a structure could look like in Mon County, and really how we get there financially, what a cost model could look like to make those come to fruition. Here is a sneak peek of Lit's team. It was a pleasure working with all of them. And then again, our additional partner was DLZ Corporation. They have an on-the-ground person, Mark Kessinger, who has lived in West Virginia his whole life. He is a WVU grad, and he is very proud to work on this project, and he's been great for us. So DLZ was very supportive in a lot of the materials, so such as this beautiful presentation, and again, making sure we had an on-the-ground presence throughout this process, even though a lot of it really was done remotely because of COVID. So, what did we see in this study? The first thing that we have to do is we have to look at the broadband data that's out there, but for a variety of reasons, that data is flawed. And I'm happy to go over those reasons, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to. When we look at the data that we have for broadband service, and we look at Mon County specifically, what we saw is that a little over half, so to speak, if you look at the yellow side, was served by a speed of 25 megabits per second down, 3 megabits per second up, which at the time we started this project was the federal definition. However, the federal programs are now increasing that definition more towards 100 megabits per second down, 20 megabits per second up, and you could assume that that yellow line would significantly move counterclockwise with the adjustment of that speed. Because the data is flawed, we can also assume that this graph, as it is today, is already overstated on 25.3, and the actual on-the-ground experience, as was just shared momentarily ago, is very different. To the comments that were just made, a variety of service types are available, but the majority of individuals here in the county are still on DSL, which was really an early form of internet connectivity. A good amount do have cable, and then there's very limited end-user fiber availability and end-user fixed wireless as a service. Our recommendations, as you will see, are going to be to get fiber in as many locations as possible. However, we do think there is a role for wireless as well in certain areas and in certain use cases. So because the data is flawed, we have to really layer it as much as we can. And when we did that, we looked at census tracts. And when we look at actual experience, so median broadband speeds in each census tract in the county, every single one had a median download speed that was less than that 25 megabits per second download threshold that the federal government came up with. When we look at fiber in the county, the majority of it is flowing essentially northeast to southwest. But if you widen this out and you look at, for example, the western area of the county, you see those lines really reduce. And what's important to note about this map is this is middle mile fiber. So this is the network that connects the network that connects the user. So while you have to have middle mile to have what we call last mile, this is not necessarily fiber that's available for residents to connect to. So to supplement the data, we also did a survey. And we promoted this in a variety of methods, and we were thrilled to receive over 1,800 responses because for us, that 1,800 metric is where we have statistical confidence, and we can really look at the survey numbers and compare them to the whole county. So similar to what we showed in terms of availability, when we look at the competition landscape locally, cable has a big footprint of it, being Comcast. Frontier also has a large portion, as was referenced earlier. That would likely be a DSL service. There are satellite options, such as Viasat. We do see Atlantic Broadband, Clear Fiber, et cetera, but you see those little portions get smaller and smaller. Overall, a large opportunity for more options locally. And to the point of options, one of the questions was if more options were available in Mon County, essentially, would you sign up? Yes, absolutely, or I think we use definitely, likely, possibly, etc. And when we break out the regions, so we looked at this survey comprehensively across the county, and then western, central, and eastern Mon County. In the western portion, which we have highlighted here, there's a little pop-up that's blocking the exact number, so I can't see it. Thank you. 93% said, yeah, I would sign up if I had another option. So there's not only a need for more options, but there's a desire on behalf of the residents and businesses to have that option available to them. When we look at internet that is available here, most are saying yes, they have it. But as we go back to that data that we talked about momentarily ago, whether or not they're actually receiving the speeds that they need to perform their day-to-day tasks or a Zoom call is probably unlikely in a lot of situations. And so while 25.3 is that threshold, and a lot of folks are saying yes, I would imagine that their at-home speed is significantly less, which is what is represented in that box to the right-hand portion. And these slides will all be available. I'm going to skip some of these just briefly for time. So to supplement the actual surveys, while we ask folks, do you have broadband? What do you subscribe to? We also wanted to see what they actually were getting. So we did ask all survey respondents to submit a speed test as well as part of the study. Thank you for trying. No problem. Looks like there's a security update that needs that. And so when we looked at the speed test results, again, the portions of individuals that showed a speed test result of not meeting that FCC broadband definition, I mean, it was everywhere in the county. It's not that there was one area that had it across the board, but certainly as you get more and more Western, it would go up in terms of those not experiencing 25.3. But it is not limited at all to that area.
I think it was 66 for the Western.
Thank
and
you.
about the same for
It is 66 Western, 20 Eastern, and 21 Central.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
No problem at all. So when we then asked, what if another service was available, what speed would you be interested in? And it was a little over half, it looks like, based on the graph, or 50%, close, really wanted a symmetrical speed of 500 megabits per second down, 500 megabits per second up. So for everyone in the room, the download speed is essentially what you're pulling from the internet when you download content, when you receive an email. Upload speed is what you are pushing to the internet. So when you are sending something, when you are uploading something. And typically, download speeds are faster than upload speeds. But there is more and more of a push, especially in our Zoom era, for what we call symmetrical service. And typically, a service at that speed, as of today's technology, can only be provided via fiber connection. The residents also were very strongly for the county being involved in the broadband efforts locally. So even the folks who had said, yes, I'm happy with my service, or yes, I have service, still said that they think it's very important that Mon County is working to find better broadband solutions locally, just as the resident we heard from momentarily ago. So we have some exact comments. I'm just skipping for time. So what Lit did as our partner, is develop some designs, what this could look like in Mon County. And I do want to be clear, this is due February 19th. That does not mean that shovels are hitting the ground February 19th. But hopefully this lends the groundwork for future implementation and what that could look like. And we have some recommendations we'll cover. So what we do is, working with Lit, we developed a fiber middle mile. So as I said, again, middle mile is the network that connects the network to the end user. And this is a preliminary design for what a fiber middle mile network could look like in Mon County. So as you can see by the various colors, these are created in what we call ring fashions. And this is important for a variety of reasons. When a fiber network is constructed in a ring, I'm feeling a strong urge to turn around and talk to everyone. That's why I keep going like this. But when a fiber network is developed in a ring, it creates what we call redundancy. So if a spot on that ring, so if you look at the far western side, it's kind of a red ring. I think that's ring 11 right there. If a section of that ring were cut for any reason, maybe a squirrel got to it, which can happen, instead of the signal that had been hypothetically traveling clockwise, the signal doesn't just stop. It goes the other way. So it'll just start traveling counterclockwise, keeping people connected. If something were to fully interrupt it, it's connected into those other rings. So then it'll start traveling over those rings. So to make sure that even if the network is physically interrupted, this signal can continue to happen. That's why redundancy is so important. And that's a challenge with different services such as satellite. So this is what then a last mile distribution, or a last mile, again, this is end user connectivity, could look like coming off of that middle mile network. As you can see, it would get fiber in and around the county. You can still see the different colors based on the ring that they would be connecting to, but you can kind of see the more branchiness of this network because it connects into that redundant middle mile network. So to wrap this up, we have a variety of recommendations / options that'll be included in the study. However, this is not at all exhaustive. This is a sampling of what will be included. I'm actually going to start at the bottom of this and work back up to the top. But the option we have listed as option 6 is the expansion of stakeholder groups. What has been truly unmatched in this project is the involvement of local stakeholders. And we said that almost ad nauseum last night, but it really is true. Now, as you get towards implementation, expanding that stakeholder group, having meetings similar to last night's in the western area of the county, in the central area, in the eastern area, and making sure that folks are bought in and understanding what is happening and what the true timeline is going to look like for implementation will be key. To build all of the networks that we're recommending, there's obviously a funding component. We will have a big funding section in the report. It took a long time to write because there kept being new funding programs. But of course, there will need to continue to be the evaluation of what further funding could be. But when we look at the network designs, again, you have the middle mile we went over. We have the last mile we went over. So option 1 would be a partial middle mile build, kind of like a pilot, which would do fiber to the premise. Option 2 would be then a wireless build in an area in western Mon County. Now, I want to be clear, while I said earlier that we think that broadband service can be performed in a kind of patchwork or layer cake manner, we would not recommend a wireless build for western Mon County as its permanent solution, but more of a stopgap for the time being to make sure that the folks who have nothing today have something while a fiber network is still pursued. And then again, there's the middle mile network that we looked at for the county, and ongoing recommendations to continue to look at that network design as needs change, as new developments come into play, making sure they're connected to a network as well will be of vital importance. So I tried to be as quick as I could. I still think I got through almost the whole presentation from last night. But with that, Jessica, Chris, and I are more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay. If I'd ask if you could put up the last mile distribution, because that to me is the most exciting part of your entire presentation. Now I'll turn it over to Sean, so that way people can see that. Okay.
Yeah, and again, people need to send, thank you, Lindsay, for saying that, as you deliver your report in February, that's not the end. It's really just the beginning. And we've got a long way to go, but as a lot of our representatives said last night, Senator Manchin did an opening remark. We had other people that were discussing where we are as a county in terms of, in comparison to the whole state. We're way out in front, and we need to stay out in front. Now, there's going to be bumps and bruises, and there's going to be stops and starts and wins and losses. But this is a long process, and that's what we really wanted our citizens to be aware of, patience. That we're at the part where we start, okay, here's an initial plan, and now to execute that. And one big part of it, and I'm glad you started from the last suggestion up, is partnerships. As we're going through the county, we're looking at different areas, and as we're talking about lighting up one end of the western end, if there's not a lot of residents there, but we look and we're miles away from the county line, where we can partner with Marion County and let them be part of the service. And again, we don't look at things with county lines. We look at our region. We could do the same thing in the Cheat Lake area, where we can reach across the line, and with what Preston County's doing, they may be able to come over and help us. Same thing with Greene County, Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different partnerships with the municipalities, partnerships with the different counties, partnerships with the state. As we go through, and again, with some of the pilots, if we start showing progress, people will take notice, and then it will take off exponentially in regards to what we can do. So it's not really a question. It's really kind of a statement. I wish there were more people at the meeting last night, but you can go to our YouTube channel and watch the whole thing and get involved and ask questions. I would like to thank everybody from the county that has been working on this. We've got a lot of people, and I hope I don't forget any names, but you've got people that are here. Mike Fortney, 911 has pretty much dedicated him to this project, our 911 center, so I appreciate that. We have Jeff Welsh, our IT director, who's here. Andrew Gasbray, our planner, is here. People that aren't, I'm not sure if I'm missing any. Oh, Eric Carlson, he's been basically, the Morgantown Area Partnership has put him on loan basically for the whole project to help move this thing forward. People that aren't here, we have the MMPO director, Bill Austin, Ron Lytle from the school board. We're working with the school board. We had an issue a couple weeks ago where Mason Dixon lost, a car hit a fiber line, and they lost their internet. Ron asked me, agencies talking to agencies, hey, you have any suggestions? So we got a guy that's got real good contacts with the state. We'll get Frontier out there and get them to fix it as soon as possible. And then those follow-on conversations, when the IT director of the county school system started talking to Mike as far as where our project's at, they realized, well, geez, we have every single school asset listed as critical infrastructure when we planned out those 14 rings.
That's right.
So again, there's a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot of accolades to go around to everybody that's helped. Your team's been wonderful to work with. It's actually been a joy. When you do something you like, you never really go to work, and this thing hasn't been very much work. It's been a pleasure working with you guys, so we really appreciate everything you're doing. Again, you start seeing it. When you start seeing it on paper, you start seeing the rings, you start seeing, wow, they may do something, and that's exciting. We want people still be patient. Oh, and I left out my favorite committee member, Dave Shrewsbury, our citizen representative, somebody that, like you, Mr. Nichols, contacted me and had an issue, and I went out to see him because I'm very visual. So I went to his house to kind of see the internet problems that he was dealing with, kind of what Dr. Rigger-Nash, kind of what you were talking about. Same thing. You sound like a David Shrewsbury. This guy was like MacGyver, kind of penciling together things to just get connectivity. And with the Ascend program in Mon County, it's a poster child of someone from the Ascend County. As a matter of fact, David Shrewsbury has a neighbor that's in the Ascend program that was having internet connectivity issues, and he helped him solve his problem, him and Mike Fortney from our 911 center. So it's just, you know, there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of good momentum. We hope to keep it moving forward. The biggest thing will be the funding aspects, which we'll deal with. We're so thankful for the ARPA dollars we have to commit to start this program, but it's going to take a lot more. It's going to take a lot more effort, and it's going to take time, but we're going to get there. And one question I do have as you were talking, and I'm glad you said, you know, when we were talking about wireless solutions as a temporary, and I kind of look at that as a long-term temporary solution. By long-term, you know, 4 or 5 years, but we're looking at some areas where we can do tower-to-tower wireless and then take fiber to the home from there. So what would be is there any discernible difference between somebody that was served with direct fiber as far as the service at their house versus somebody that was served with wireless to a cell and then fiber to their house?
Yes, so very good question. So in that instance where the fiber is going to the house, but in that case, the wireless is serving as the middle mile, essentially, as the backhaul. Wireless, just by nature, can be a little bit more susceptible to interruption. So, for example, it wouldn't have that ring structure, so to speak. But it still is a very viable service to promote last mile end user connectivity. So the benefits of having that, go to the slide previous, the middle mile rings, you know, around will then fill that wireless backhaul gap in later years as needed. But it is a very viable model that is used in a lot of places.
Yeah, and as we've talked about it being, you know, in some instances, we may have to come up with temporary solutions to get us there, but with a long-term plan to then backfill with real fiber. So
that's exactly
there's
right.
a lot of those different options that we've looked at. Yesterday we, thanks to Jessica, we were pretty, now that Lit Communities is doing we've worked with her directly. We actually took her on a tour of Mon County yesterday. I know we probably made her nauseous. We traveled 179 miles going from the western end all the way around and then going all the way out to the eastern end. And again, just those conversations, we've come up with a number of things that we really need to focus on, like a couple partnerships that we've been talking about, but now we're like, we really need to move forward on some of these things. So it's all help. But the other thing that's really interesting is the change in the federal standard. When we started this, we were talking about 25.3, 25 download, 3 upload as the federal standard. And we, as a group, said, that's nice that that's a standard, but that's not our goal. If we would have built this whole project to get to the standard, we would have 4 or 5 years we would have failed. And as a matter of fact, mid-project we would have failed because they've already changed the standard. What we were looking at is true, you know, 100 to 100 minimum, but 500 to 500, 1,000 to 1,000, you know, is where that was our goal. So even though the federal standard has changed, and now we're still way above that as far as what we were planning, because we already knew that the issues that you dealt with, Doctor, with trying to connect that if you have during COVID, David, his wife's a teacher and he works at the FBI center, so remote from Cheat Lake, and he has 3 kids. So 5 people needing to get on classes and stuff like that is just unworkable, you know, so you do need those really higher ends. And remote or virtual or hybrid office is something it's here to stay. I mean, at least some hybrid activity or aspect of how we all work. So it's here to stay, and that's not going to change. So we really need to, plan higher, and which is what we've done. I really don't have any other questions other than there's still time to take the survey.
Yes, please. Survey
So
remains open.
Take the survey.
Please take it.
It's at monfiber.servicezones.net. It's on our website. There's a link to it on our website. But please jump in. And one of the things I think Senator Manchin had mentioned, that he took 22 surveys
2,200.
across the whole state, 2,200 across the whole state that have helped out with some of the mapping. And just here in Mon County, we were able to get almost 1,900 responses. So 2,200 from the whole state, 1,900 from Mon County. That's I applaud all of our citizens for participating. And again, the patience. I had a lady call last week that participated last night and actually asked one of the questions. She lives down in Delso, so she's mile and a half away from the city and doesn't understand why she doesn't have internet. And asked her to tune in, and we take all those questions, like your examples, your neighborhood. We've sat there. That's how we started off talking about David Shrewsbury's issue out on Cheat Lake, which is a beautiful neighborhood. You'd want to live there, but if you can't be connectivity is just as important. It's the new utility.
That's right.
That it's absolutely critical. You have to have it. So anyhow, one last thing is I'm going to steal one of your lines. You talked last night about if you build it, they will come, and economic development. That is true. But more importantly, if you don't build it, they will leave. And that's what we've been focusing on, is trying to keep our citizens here, trying to get our kids to stay here. I want my kids to stay here. And that's a very important point, and I hope you don't mind if I use that.
Not at all. Not at all.
There's a number of issues, but I'll try and keep it short. I think why we are so thrilled to work with all three companies is you've bought into what the three county commissioners want, regional plan. And that's been the difference between the state concept, I believe, and Mon County. We have realized that, as you said, whether it's Preston County, we're considering if right now Greene County is building out, if we can use them, or Marion County, we're going to work together. And that's why I love this map. In fact, I'm really excited. And I want the public to understand, in the past, everything like the cable company, everything comes out of Morgantown and goes out that way. You have come up with the concept that we are wanting. It's regional, that the western end, you look at, there's I think 15, I think that's what I counted, or 15 different,
14.
What?
14 rings.
14 rings to show that we are looking at different areas. And I guess in the past, we've done what's called a silo. I always call it, we have a real problem with nonprofits. Everyone does a little silo. What you're saying is, forget about that. We need the middle mile to work for everyone, and then we will do the different areas. And there's only two things that are positive come out of COVID. And one thing is, it showed a lack of broadband and education and the need in Mon County. I mean, everyone agrees.
Yep.
Both sides, Democrat, Republicans, we realize that. The second thing, and Sean mentioned it, partnership. Now, we can't say publicly, but this group is working with gas companies and other companies. So instead of drawing the line along the road, you're working with the company, say, can we not use your right-of-way to cut half the price? So these are the things that you are working with, Eric and Sean, and Hap, that have done things that we didn't realize could happen. And finally, I just want to say that we've talked about some ideas. One of the things that I think that I'm real excited about is you're very willing to, when we have a couple of these community meetings, we're going to go out to the western end and have a meeting there so they can understand that this, and you look at this map, is not Morgantown out. It's different areas. And what I hope to do is take your leadership, and then we go back to Charleston and to Senator Manchin, who I've already sent a message to and said, we want to be your pilot project. I know Hap already has an idea where I was talking to him about something in the western end, to try it, see what works and doesn't work, and then we go from there. But that way we would use state and federal dollars. And please, as you said, come February, you're not in 2 months going to have broadband. What the public needs to understand is there's a lot of money, but they're not telling you, this is what the politicians do, a lot of money, but there isn't the plan yet. We are coming up with a comprehensive regional plan, not just little stopgaps. And that's why I'm so excited about your program. I don't know if you want to add on to that.
You're
'cause-
perfectly correct. The safe play here would be kind of just to sit around and wait to see till
Yes.
someone brings us a solution. We're going out and we've hired a group to bring that solution to us, to develop that solution, to embed themselves in our county and really come up with a full, comprehensive, a number of options. If you look at those options now, the option entails that we're going to pick one, but really we're doing all of them. It's just however the steps steps that we do that. And Chris Miller might be able to speak to some of the right-of-way discussions we've had. Now, we do have NDAs, and we can't really say a lot about who we've talked to, but in terms of what they've seen in this county versus what they've seen elsewhere,
could.
and working for the legal aspect of right-of-ways, Chris, if you want to say anything, and you're the lawyer that can not, rather than me say something and say something I can't say, I'd rather you say something.
Well, that was the chicken way out, but thanks.
Political way out
Yeah,
there.
that was the smart thing to do.
Smart.
So, yeah, don't let it be said that Commissioner Secor is not very, very smart. No, I think what I can say about, and we said this a little bit last night in the presentation, the reception by folks that we don't normally see a positive reception from, and many times that's private entities, right? They have their own business models, they have systems they're deploying, they have services they're delivering, and really it's to their advantage, both for competition and otherwise, to make sure they lock that information down and try to be as close to the vest and as private with that as they can. In the case of Mon County, we have been floored by the willingness of your traditional utility service providers, some of the folks who are in the energy industry, who have infrastructure and easements, whether those be for water or energy, electric, gas. Those folks have all stepped forward, and to Commissioner Secor's point, we have NDAs with those folks at this point, but a number of them, a significant number of them, have stepped forward and said, how can we help? And that's unusual. And also it has not been, how can we help, and by the way, we'd like you to compensate us for helping you. Instead of, and this happens a lot, and I see this in my energy practice and my regulatory practice, a lot of times companies will look at that as an additional revenue source or revenue stream on what they've, what their business model is and what they've invested in. Here we've had people say, yeah, we'll figure all the economic stuff out later. How do we get, and it's their employees, right? It's their customers, right? It's their folks who are getting their service. How do we get those folks in a situation where their lives are better? And I think we've just been impressed with the commitment of not only the general citizenry and the leadership in this community, but the businesses. And we have never, very honestly, and Lindsay and Jessica can correct me on this, but we have never seen another client or another area we've participated in working with where the business folks come out of the community and say, I'm a business person, but this isn't about business, this is about lifestyle. And this is about what we're going to do to make sure that our community is a better place for me to continue to do my business in, and my employees and my customers have a lifestyle circumstance, a situation where economic development's important, and they're able to work from home, education's important, and we've got the kids who are potentially out of school working from home, we've got people who can continue advanced degrees. So we've been tremendously impressed. And so on the right-of-way side, what I can say is that there are a number of participants who are working with us to try to solve the potential problem at the end of the day, which is going to be, how do we get this thing done, and how do we get from point A to point B in the shortest distance as the crow flies, because it's much cheaper than running down 16 miles of road if I can make a run across a field and cover it in 1 mile. So that's been great. And I will also say we've had interest from independent landowners who are not in the business of having easements or utility services, who have also said, hey, look, we just want to get this stuff out to our neighbors. And so I think it's been impressive, and Sean, I'm glad you pointed that out, because it has been a joy, just as you guys have said, to work perhaps with us, which is, we don't hear too often, but we're often difficult, but not to work with, but we're just, as a lawyer, I'm always a little difficult. I'm always a little difficult. But it's been a joy to work with the community, and not just leadership, not just citizenry, but businesses in this community. Fabulous. Can't say enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to the report. Is it February 19th? And again, as I want the public to understand, it's like running a 440 rate, that's the first quarter. Then we start working on the specifics. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you very much. And hopefully the public will still continue to go and turn in their information for you. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll move forward. I apologize, but I think this is very important. Colleen Kuhn grants, and she has none. Correspondence. Okay, we have a couple. One is an email message from Craig Walker from the CEO of Visit Mountaineer Country CVB regarding a transfer of $25,000 to the Mon County Tourism Advancement Fund. Basically, they are taking $25,000 and adding it to our fund that was at $150,000 because it's so successful. So we don't really need to do anything. because they're doing it. Okay. Invitation by Mon County Drug Court Program graduation ceremony on January 25th, 2022. Did you want to say anything, or
No.
it's just an invitation?
Yep.
And
Actually, that day's
C,
passed, but they had given us an invitation.
Yeah.
So we
Oh, yeah.
we were listening.
sorry, okay. And finally, we have another correspondence where we have bids to open. Now, we're just going to open up the technical, is that correct?
Okay, well, you're jumping ahead.
Oh,
so,
sorry.
I received a request
Oh.
from the assessor's office. This is regarding adjustments. You do a letter every year for the assessor to allow them to make adjustments to values even after, because of a tax appeal process.
Right.
So, do you want that on your agenda next week?
Yes,
Sure.
that-
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, Commissioner.
go ahead.
Well, let me think one thing. You noted the communication from Mr. Nichols to the commission.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I had that in my correspondence, but since he presented it to you
Okay.
today.
Okay. It was, he had sent a letter to us,
Yes,
and that's what we were going to say. Okay. Now you can,
Okay. All right, so the Chestnut Ridge slope grading and sledding hill project.
yes.
We received 4 responses, and
And for the record, we just need to note that we received responses. They're noted when we received them
Yeah.
by the due date and time, which was today at 10 o'clock. So we'll note the entities, and then we'll turn it over to the technical evaluation committee, who will review the technical evaluations, and then the cost proposals, they're separate, will be opened at a later date. So once we determine the technical qualifications, the committee will make a recommendation to the commission, and then we'll open up the, as far as who's technically responsive, and then we'll open up the bids, the cost bids, and then combine the two.
Should we state the 4 that we received
He's
from?
going to.
Yes, so for the record, we
Yeah.
just want to note that we've received one bid from Anderson Excavating LLC, Blue Gold Development LLC, Green Rivers Group, WG Land Company LLC. So that's a total of 4 bids. So they're all noted for the record that they were received by the time and date. And with the commission's approval, we'll turn that over to the Technical Evaluation Committee and take it from there.
Do we want to have a motion that we have received it and then we're paying it, just so it's in the record? We don't need
I
that.
mean, it's read into the
Okay.
record,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other correspondence?
No, that's
I
all.
screwed up. Okay. Unfinished business.
None.
Okay. New business. Consideration to approve a second amendment to tower and ground space lease between the Mon County Commission and Hardy Cellular Telephone Company for the Catherine's Knob Emergency Communication Tower.
This is for US Cellular to put their equipment back on the Catherine's Knob Tower. It's been reviewed by our insurance carrier and also the county attorney. So that way, if there needed to be any changes, we made it some slight modifications, but that's all. So it's just ready for your approval today.
Move that we approve the agreement as presented.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I'd appreciate if you get that information out, because a lot of people always,
Now, this is not to say that it's
this
going.
just allows them to
This
put
is-
it on.
This is just an amendment to the previous
Right.
agreement.
That allows them.
So it is moving forward, but that's not
Yes.
to say that people are going to have service
Right.
tomorrow.
And to clarify, that is, we have a communications tower. It's
Right.
Mecca 911 emergency tower. US Cellular leases space on that tower. The commission isn't responsible for US Cellular service on that tower. They lease space from us. It's up to them to make that service viable. We get a lot of questions about the cell service on the western end of the county, and we had to take the old tower down because it was a safety hazard. And but we were in communications with US Cellular before we took the old tower down, and all through the process. But I do want people to understand that that's not the county's responsibility
Right.
to our third party to get their equipment up and running on our tower.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business?
No, sir.
Okay. Reports from any elected officials? Andrew, come on down.
Andrew Gaspray, Director of Planning, Monongalia County. Wanted to, apart from the wonderful connectivity of broadband, there's the connectivity of all infrastructure, roads, land use, in creating meaningful connections for the county as part of our comprehensive plan, which is being updated. We have a survey that will be going online tomorrow for the public to weigh in on and add more information than we've already gleaned so far, trying to say what they would like to see in the future. Furthermore, there will be a virtual meeting that's like the meeting that you had last night for the comprehensive plan, and we will be coordinating with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, because obviously land use and transportation go hand in hand. And that is scheduled for Thursday, February 10th, 2022, from 6 to 8 p.m. The link is on our website, Monongalia County Planning Commission website, on our county website. So we have more information available on the website, and I encourage everybody to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Andrew.
much. We'll get that out. Is there anyone else? Sean?
Okay. Since last week's meeting, last Wednesday evening, I had the Morgantown Area Partnership Monthly Board meeting. Thursday was a slow day for county meetings. Friday, we had staff reports, and then we had a broadband tag-up with our consultant. This week, we had another tag-up when our Jessica came into town on Monday night. So Eric and Mike and I met with her to talk about our tour of the county. Tuesday, we had our tour of the county, and again, it was very interesting and very eye-opening. And then last night, we had our broadband stakeholders meeting. And I didn't mention it, but I want to thank the county clerk showed up at the meeting last night. And again, it's great to see everybody get involved, but especially our elected officials, so that they're aware, so that they can help carry our message and help bring questions to us. So I meant to thank Carrie last night for showing up, and I just completely forgot about it. Today's a regular day. Tomorrow I have Mon County Health Department meeting, and then I have a meeting with the Morgantown, or the MIP developers, and at night we have our MMMPO meeting, and Friday's just regular staff reports. We said a lot about the broadband process. I do want to thank, I forgot to mention Delegate Statler, who has been sending us legislation that related to broadband, as in addition to a number of other things, as Joe usually does when House is in session. It's almost like taking on another part-time job, fielding questions and providing information back to and giving opinion to Delegate Statler, as he really keeps us informed as far as what's going on down there. But really important to our effort is House Bill 4001, which has a lot of good things for broadband. So we're really watching the progress of that. And the last thing is, I can't go without mentioning, yesterday was my 21st birthday of my baby. So Becca turned 21, and then on Sunday I've got the 16th birthday of my youngest. So two landmark birthdays in 1 week, and big birthdays. I mean, when you turn 21 and when you turn 16, those are so Mon County drivers, beware. I didn't have any issue with Becca, though we had to get her a small car before I was comfortable with her driving. But Gwen, God love you. She's beware. That's all I can say. And now Sheriff's not here, but we'll make sure we keep an eye out for a little red Kia driving around town. So that's all I have, Tom. Thanks.
Just quickly again, when I went home, I told my wife, I don't usually like to go to meetings at night when there are presentations, but it was exceptional. I was so excited about seeing the presentation, and I keep thinking of things that really affect this country. And I remember when TV first came out and how it affected everything. Then phones, but cell phones came out. I keep thinking that the show Get Smart, when we always laughed that he had a little cell phone, and now we have that. And I think we're at the third stage and tier now, which is the broadband. And I think everybody working together has really made this possible, and I'm really excited for which direction we're gonna go. Now, we're earmarking a lot, 50% of the ARP funds, around 10 million. And people think that'll pay for it. It won't. That's why we're gonna work with the state. That's why we have them working for grants with the state and the federal. And I just really think this is going to change the shape and direction of Monongalia County. And hopefully, the people will understand it'll take some time, but we have a plan, and that's what no one else has in the rest of the state. So with that,
One important thing that we didn't
Okay.
mention in the presentation is the whole effort on behalf of the team is a financial effort to how do you pay for this?
Yes.
A grant effort, a deep dive in all the grant opportunities. So we have consultants that are busy tearing through everything that's out there and what will be available. And as we take those 14 rings, if one area applies to a certain grant, then we can use that grant to pay for it. So we'll have to kind of mix and match as far as what we put our hard dollars into as opposed to what we get from grants. But I think it's going to be a cohesive effort in regards to all opportunities that are out there.
and I think, and maybe if I'm correct, I've seen grant money that says that already has partial, but then there's grant money that has absolutely no internet or program out there. So that way we have to make sure, and that's what you're looking at, so I appreciate that. So with that, I ask for a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second, we be gone. Thank you.